which is Shagan. You wanna?
You did, because I got
You're a gentleman, innit? Every time it's me.
Yeah, you did.
Keeping up appearances.
Wow.
So obviously nowadays, I think not just nowadays. I think for a long time, but with things like social media, it's kind of accelerated it. But not nowadays, especially with the acceleration, keeping up appearance is a problem, I would say. And obviously, since you're here, Reggie, we thought we'll take the opportunity to talk about that too, because I'm sure you've probably seen people who have wanted to keep up appearance in a way where they might show one persona, but actually that's what they're showing is not what they're living.
Yeah.
Or the main way, which I think we should talk about, is where people believe that they need to be at a certain point,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and they're just not basically showing themselves.
Yeah. I think you touched there. Social media almost like a highlight reel. It's not. You have to remember, social media is not real life.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and there's so many different sayings about this, but it's like no one's actually showing you their failures on social media. And if they're showing you their failures, it's almost like, why are you attention seeking? Do you know what I mean? Like, if I post on social media, oh, I just failed my exam, it's like someone will message you, why do you want sympathy? Go do your exam again. And if you post your exam that, you know, just passed my exam, why are you boasting?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So social media's almost created this world whereby you want to try and please everyone, and then that people start to lose themselves. Sometimes I detox myself from social media, to be honest with you. Like, I come off it for a couple of weeks just to sort of recalibrate my thoughts and just see where I'm at, because it's so hard for you to see it and then start to compare yourself to it. And I've fallen victim to it as well. Like, you imagine you buy a watch, oh yeah, my watch is nice. Like, you grafted, you bought a watch, and you see someone else on social media, oh, they've got a better watch than you. Oh, my watch is crap, let me go sell it and get another one. Do you know what I mean? It's a constant comparison. And I think that leads on to the second point of trying to get somewhere before your own time. And it's almost like, if you use the analogy of a seed, right? When you plant a seed and you water it, sunlight, it grows in its own time. And when you try to accelerate the growth, you can kill that plant, or the plant will not grow to what it's supposed to be, or to its full potential. And a lot of people try to accelerate that growth because they want to get from A to B in 2 years, when in retrospect it should take them 3 or 4 years.
Like it's a race as well.
And the thing is, life in itself isn't a race. I use the example of like a Ferrari and a Ford, right? A Ferrari will get to a destination a lot quicker than a Ford, but at the end of the day, they're both still getting to a destination. And if you look at people like Jay-Z, for example, I think he released his first album or first something when he was 26.
Yeah.
And
It's not that good day.
26 years old.
26, you know.
26.
Released his first one. And then you've got 18-year-olds that are saying, bun this music thing because they haven't got a record deal. It's like, yo, Jay-Z was in the lab, you know, he was grinding, he was doing, and back then, social media obviously wasn't prominent back then, so it was you versus you. Now it's you versus 3 billion people that have access to social media. Do you know what I mean? So it can be quite dangerous. And the comparison thing is very, very dangerous. And I'm not saying that I'm excluded from that. I fall trapped to that as well sometimes.
Yeah, I think we all do. It's kind of a trap that on a daily basis we all have to be aware about. I think self-awareness is a big thing, you know, even not just career-wise or financially, but even relationship-wise, you know.
Oh, mate.
How many countless people do you know who are in the spotlight, the limelight, and, you know, it's goals, it's relationship goals, it's couple goals, it's marriage goals, but not to look with a negative, you know, mindset, but you really don't know what they're going through.
Yeah.
And sometimes afterwards, when that relationship breaks up, then you're like, oh, really? Oh, this is, but like you said, it's virtual reality. It's VR. It's actually VR.
Wow.
No one's showing, like, and why would you show that? Why would you?
Why would you show the negative side?
Why would you show the negatives? Do you know what I mean? It's like, obviously everyone's entitled to show what they want to show, and I think that's almost like the beauty of social media, where you can create this world where everyone can almost show their happiness and
the highlights,
and they can show them like, look at me, I'm happy. But you looking at them, I'm happy. It's almost like you don't know, like you said, you don't know what's behind that. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like there's I think there was a picture that I saw, and it's such a powerful picture where there's a picture of someone and then they've got a mask on, and then on the mask like a smiley face, but then behind them you see the person crying, and that is like almost the epitome of social media, whereby people will show you what they want to see, but behind you don't know what they're going through, and the more you compare yourself to people, the more of a hole you almost dig for yourself. So no, it's a deep thing. It is a deep thing.
But even as I was listening to a track today, I think it was a track, and this artist Andy Mineo, he was saying how actually when you're real, you're authentic, you know, and you even show some of the vulnerable side, people actually don't say stay away from me, but their approach is more of, hey, actually me too, you know, there's that relatability, you know, and
people interested in that. Is that interesting? Do people find that interesting?
Yeah,
you show that side.
Depends on the angle, isn't it? Yeah,
like the real side.
Yeah.
That's not what people want to see, though.
Again, that's the truth. Yeah, it's true. But then obviously you will find some, because obviously it's a conversation, but you will find that even, like I think we had a conversation on a different episode about how boxers need to sell, you know, a certain persona, you know, to sell fights and so on and so forth. Okay, you know, that's good. But when you show the real side, authentic side, you know, even if it might not boost your brand, your sales, you know, your exposure, but the relatability is priceless.
But you know what it is? I feel like social media now has become like a currency kind of thing. So like, in terms of like the amount of likes or the amount of reception that you get, it determines your worth. There's a path, like there's certain things that you can do to boost that as well. Like if you show your flashy stuff, if you show that this is your new gear, like people like that stuff, and it works for people. It works for the celebrities. So that's why I feel like a lot of people are trying to follow that same kind of path. They feel like if I do this as well, like it will boost my likes, it will boost my wealth.
It's almost like it's funny you mention that, because so I participated in a debate at, when I was at doing this leadership program at Oxford, and we went to the Oxford Union, and the debate was, is the internet detrimental to society, and I was proposing for the notion, and one of the things that I mentioned was social media in itself. It was like what you just said about the likes and the comments and all those things. It boosts someone's morale. It creates this almost like an adrenaline within them, and it almost creates like this brain stimulation where neurologically your brain becomes a lot more excited and it wants more of it, and wants more of it. And it becomes almost like a drug. So social media, the effects of social media and that neurological excitement that it creates is almost compared to a drug. Like what a drug can do for your brain, social media can also do it. That's why people crave it even more, and the more you crave it, it's almost like, the worst thing about this is there's no end to it, because there's no finite amount of likes you can get. So it's almost like you're on a never-ending cycle. And the worst thing is, when people compare themselves to it, they don't know that some people have bought the likes that you're trying to attain. So some of the things that you see are not even real. Like, I remember I read this article about Love Island casts, right? And you know Love Island casts, they go into the Love Island and they're on like, I don't know, let's say 5,000 followers, and there's this big craze about the cast when they go in and come out and they get like millions of followers and stuff. They don't, like, people looking at like raw, like they aspire to be like, I don't watch Love Island, but I know this guy called Ovi. I don't watch it, but that's what they might want to aspire to be like the Ovi guy, whatever. I don't know. But they don't know that in the background, you know, all the sponsors of I Love It are actually pumping their social media. Do you know what I mean? They're doing whatever they can to get them to that mark. So it's almost artificial in a way. Like the likes, the followers, they are artificial, because it's not real people click on their things to like it. It's being pumped through different sort of digital marketing strategies, whatever it might be. So us as sort of normal people, if you put ourselves in the bracket of normal people, aspire to be like these people, not knowing that number one is fake, not knowing that number two, the effects that's having on your brain is actually, you know, can be compared to a drug. Like social media is actually a powerful thing.
It is.
It's such a powerful thing.
It is.
Even in a natural state of like amongst friends or amongst a group of people, feeling left out because certain people have, let's say, got married at a certain time, and then you feel like,
hey, married boy, when will you marry?
We'll leave that for another episode. You know, happily married, young.
Amen.
But,
I want to hear the story behind that as well, man. But anyway,
but I was saying, let's say with that example where even I personally, and maybe some of us have experienced seeing friends around us or people that we know feeling insecure because in a group that they're in or amongst people that they know, they're kind of left out because they haven't, for example, got a ring on their finger at a certain time, been proposed at a certain time. Time is running out. What's happening? And then you start to make short-term decisions that will have a long-term pain.
Impact. Do you know what it is?
Exactly.
I remember, so the time when, like, I don't know if you guys ever sort of faced it, but like when guys were buying designer and everything had to be like Montclair or Giuseppe or Balenciaga, and then I'm not gonna lie to you, I bought a couple Balenciaga. I like the feeling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the lifestyle.
I like that. I bought. I had a pair. I don't wear this stuff anymore, but like I had a pair of Gucci shoes, a pair of Balenciaga. You know what I mean? Bro, and I realized I'm actually spending too much money on this. Like I can't keep it up. And the thing is, I was so silly. Like I was comparing myself to people that did fraud.
Yeah.
So these people are doing fraud. I'm doing everything legit. These times I was probably like just finishing uni, so I was actually broke. Do you know what I mean? Like I had no money. But I'm trying to compete with people that are doing fraud, and it's like, Reggie, what are you doing? Like these guys can afford to do it, but then you're here and it's like, yo, stop. So I mean, just on that as well, just comparing yourself, that whole comparison thing, you don't know the sort of behind the story of it. You see from the outside, and it's like, oh, I want this, or if you can do it, then I want that. But it's like, I guess sometimes comparison can be good in one sense, but in regards to sort of our sort of millennial generations, sometimes comparison is so detrimental to some people.
So where would you guys say is the line where someone says, oh, actually, I'm using it as motivation? Where do you think the line is drawn?
I feel like it becomes motivation when you actually... Okay, wow. I feel like it depends what you're going for as well. Like, a lot of the time, if it's a materialistic thing, you... actually, do you know what? I feel like it all depends on the individual first. It depends on the individual. I say this because, like, let's say even if you had something materialistic, some person might look at it and be like, okay, yeah, I need to go bag fraud or shot this and do that to get the funds to be able to afford that lifestyle. But another person might look at it as a thing like, oh, maybe I need to actually, pursue this job or like go and study or do that so that I can actually afford that lifestyle. So I feel like it all comes down to the person. But going back to the original point, I don't feel like you should ever make decisions based on other people. Because like you said before, it always affects the way you think. You're always trying to compare yourself. You're always trying to do things so that you can reach that level faster than you should actually like reach that level, if you know what I mean.
So are you saying like completely scrap it or to a very minimum?
I don't say balance. Completely scrap it, but I feel like it should constantly be in your mind that actually it shouldn't be a thing where you're comparing yourself. Maybe you're using it as motivation in the sense that I want to be like this person, not like I want to have the things that this person has, kind of thing. I don't know if you guys are getting what I'm saying.
I know what you mean.
Guys, I feel like
it's more the process than the outcome.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really put a price on aspiration, right? And in the whole process of aspiration, there is an element of comparison. It's natural, right? You have to see something and then compare it to what you have so that you can aspire to have or be where X, Y, Z person is. Where it becomes detrimental is when I feel like you start to look at it and say, and almost try to picture the shortcuts to get there, right? Because like we look at someone and we might think, right, they're there, but if we don't know how they got there, then we will try to create our own path. And us humans, we always want a shortcut, right?
Exactly.
We always want the quickest way to get somewhere. So we almost pave this direction that doesn't exist, and we try to do it so quickly that it can be detrimental to us. And I just feel like you comparing yourself to people is not the issue. I mean, we should compare ourselves to certain people in order to get somewhere. Like if I'm a footballer, I'm gonna probably compare myself to, if I want to be the best, compare myself to a Ronaldo or a Messi, whatever. But I can't take the shortcuts to get to Ronaldo or Messi. If you, like I said, the documentary Ronaldo, if you was to follow that trajectory, then of course you can be the next Ronaldo, right? But there are no shortcuts. And us as human beings, I think that's where the sort of problem is when we try to take the shortcut into getting somewhere, it won't work. Or if it does work, it, like I said, it goes up quickly, comes down quickly. So I don't believe that comparing yourself to people is a bad thing. But if you're going to compare yourself to someone, number one, just know that timing is everything. Number two, it's almost like there is a story and a process behind everything, and be prepared to pay the price of that, or be prepared to sort of create your own path to get there. Like, don't try and find the shortcuts, because that's when it becomes like detrimental. And that's in everything. That's in career. If you accept a job too early, you know, if you hop jobs, you know, you go to another job, someone look at your CV and be like, why are you only here for 3 months?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're trying to get that pay rise so quickly that you're jumping. No, like, settle. You know, do your time, create your path, and then in the right time, things will move forward.
Just like even the analogy of going to the gym. You know, there are people who work for what they have, and there are people who sit in Instagram like, whoa, these guys probably on the juice. They're probably literally on the juice. You have no idea.
Is that gym natural?
No. This is all natural. It's not even anything. It's not even anything.
Oh, what? It's not even gym. It's not like that.
Huh? Okay, a little bit. But anyway, but yeah, I don't know if you know. Actually, I don't even know if he is or he isn't. You guys, do you know Simeon Panda?
Yeah.
Name rings a bell. What?
Yeah.
He's a
bodybuilder.
Big bodybuilder, black guy.
I was going to say FIFA.
But anyway, I'm not sure about him actually. I don't know why his name came to my head. But he's very well known for that. But it's just that process, you know, of, for example, going to the gym, eating the right things, sleeping on time for recovery. Even when you don't want to go, you're still going. And then someone probably comes along. You again, like you said, you don't know how they got there. They probably, you know, are eating wherever they want. They're just drinking protein shakes. I don't know exactly how this works, guys. Please don't crucify me. Yeah, on the juice, steroids, whatever. But then, if you look at both, unless they obviously tell you what they've done, you don't have an idea exactly of what they're doing. But I guess our human inclination is always to go the quick route, you know, of, okay, what do I have to do? You know, even losing weight, let me see what tablets work for me to lose weight.
It's a shortcut.
Yeah. That's the thing. I don't think there's even ever an actual shortcut. Because
it's actually true.
If you think about it, there's so many examples
for something good that lasts as well.
I think you needed to add that, because the shortcuts, and you know, they work, but in terms of like sustainable,
longevity,
it's just quite hard to find a shortcut that is sustainable. It's true.
What you were saying.
I mean, there's always side effects as well. There's always side effects.
It's actually true.
Whether it is, like you get the gym example, steroids. There's a lot of side effects. We obviously know. What else is there? Like
it's everything. Like, everything. There was someone I know, whether they're watching this or not. If you're watching it, then you know what I'm talking about. But, someone, they lied. I was gonna say they fibbed, but they didn't fib. They lied. They lied about their A-level grades to the university.
How do they even do that?
You can forge the paper.
You can.
Seriously?
I know some people.
I thought that was just in America.
No, I know people that forge
report cards in that.
No, you can.
Wow. Okay.
I know someone that bought 2 A stars.
Yeah, I know someone. That,
are you serious?
I know somebody.
You know when you watch TV,
I'm gonna pay them out anyway. They made it free, so.
Honestly,
wow.
There's I know someone that they forged GCSEs to get onto A levels, and someone that lied about their A levels to get into university. And long story short, it's like they got caught. Do you know what I mean? To be fair, this person that did the moral thing, they actually told the truth to the university. Said, look, like, I think their conscience was just accusing them or whatever. But it just goes to show, like you know, there's easy ways to get something. Like, you can buy 2 A stars. You know what I mean? You can forge your grades and that. But at the end of the day, it's like it's the longevity of it. It's just, I just feel like someone's gonna slip up. And I have this, not philosophy, because it's not philosophy, but I have this sort of like view on life whereby, like, I'm not sure if you guys know about this, but the Newton's third law. Newton was a scientist. His third law, and his third law was for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. I just feel like for every action, for whatever you do, whatever you put in, whatever you sort of, whatever things you put into place, there will be an equal and opposite reaction. Maybe not now, but in the future there will be an equal and opposite reaction to what you've done. Which is why I try to. I'm not saying I'm holy or like doing good all the time, but like I try to just do the moral thing, because that Newton's third law just plays my mind all the time.
And I think it plays a big part as well, even in your own happiness and self-worth.
Yeah. Peace of mind is everything, man. Peace of mind is so expensive. So expensive. That's why not a lot of people can afford it.
You heard it there, the first time, Reggie Nelson.
No, honestly, like, you'd be surprised how many people just struggle to have a clean conscious peace of mind, go to sleep at night just with no passa. Like, of course, everyone has their own individual problems and their own individual battles, but going to sleep knowing that I'm happy with myself.
Security.
It's just it's a beautiful thing. And I mean, you can even compare that to like celebrities or people with wealth that have committed suicide because of for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like you can't buy that peace of mind. That just comes from you sort of living a life in the right way. And not a lot of people are prepared to do that, which is why a lot of people suffer from depression even though they have wealth, or they suffer from depression even though they have X, Y, Z. Peace of mind is a very, very expensive thing. So yeah, the price of it is high. Very high.
Yeah, definitely. Just to have that self peace and security where it doesn't come from the outside, and you don't have to. There isn't something inside of you that it's kind of if I can say a hunger, where you have to keep doing what you're doing or faking. That saying, fake it till you make it. You have to keep faking it and faking it, because I think for those who have played Jenga, the tower Jenga, there's a certain point where you keep building, the tower will topple down.
Yeah.
And eventually, obviously, when it topples down, everyone eventually sees it. And just because of that short-term thinking or the wrong motives of wanting to keep up appearance or wanting to kind of go for something before your time, in the end, there's always kind of a negative outcome, in whatever, direction, career, path in life that you try and choose.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
And trying to thinking of even a more extensive way to look at it when it comes to, let's say, people trying to put up a persona or keep up appearance of pushing something that isn't necessarily real or authentic. Personally, from my experience, actually, I've seen in the business kind of way, Raw Apparel, Unscripted being obviously a brand I'm looking to kind of push on further. Something as small as, for example, likes. One thing that, speaking from my experience already, at this level, I saw is that I almost fell into the trap of, okay, I've created an Instagram account, let's get the likes and follows up. But then eventually I had to kind of backtrack, do a bit of rebranding, and see that actually it's not about the likes, it's not about appearance. Even though when you're putting out content, you're doing work, it needs to be exemplary, it needs to be, the best that it can be. But what I needed to focus on was the message, which is the people, the relatability, and building that community, because that's the ground that, the whole brand or whatever it might be that I'm doing will be built, which will actually be built upon, in the long term, for the future. And I think, again, I don't want to go back too much on everything that we said, but just like those small things, it's so important to be aware of, because once you fall into that trap, it's kind of a thing where if you fall down the stairs, for those who have before, I'm sure everyone has anyway. Once you fall and you're falling, depending on how high you've dropped off from, it's hard to come back. It's so hard to come back. I've seen it from a few examples of people in my own life. Obviously, we see it, from celebrities. But let's say for someone who's in the public eye, not even just the public eye, but people who are more relatable, down to earth like us, who maybe have been keeping up an appearance right now, or felt that they've had to keep, doing something, showing a certain persona, or basically faking it. And they're probably watching, listening to this, or we go out into our own spaces, environments, talk to the people that we know. What advice would we give them?
First thing I would say is that you can only be
especially if
yourself.
they've been doing it for so long, because as we know, once you've gone in a certain direction for so long, it's always hard to come back.
Just cut it off. Just be for real, for real, because you will never reach the level or reach the goals or the success that you want to reach if you're always focusing on trying to please others or focusing on trying to be what other people perceive as great or good kind of thing. You'll never have time to actually focus on what makes me great or what I can do to be great or reach what I want to do. So, I mean, if you fall into the trap of, and I feel like all of us have, I feel like I have sometimes, because if we're all gonna be honest, we've posted a picture on Instagram and we've come back 5 minutes later to check how much likes there is.
We have. Unfortunately.
For real, when
it's true.
When are we gonna get to the
point?
But
You gotta be aware of that. Some people are not.
Yeah.
Self-awareness.
Like,
Self-awareness. People do it subconsciously.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's the thing. That's why I feel like with social media, you have to.
These guys.
I talked to them then.
Hey, no, but it's true. I feel like we're all guilty of it. So, but yeah, I feel like both of you guys mentioned it. It comes down to self-awareness. Like, you just need to get to the point that you're conscious of these things. Like, even me with my little brothers, I've got 2 younger brothers, and like, they've grown up in this social media thing, especially the younger one. He's 13 now. Like, he's been on Instagram since I don't even know what age. Like, there was a point where this guy will wake up in the morning and the first thing he's doing is on his phone, he's on Instagram or something like that. And I'm like, bro, is this actually real? Is this reality? Now, like, the first thing you turn to is your phone to go on this form of social media. Or the other one will wake up in the morning, you'll be brushing his teeth on Snapchat. Like, for you, I'm baiting these men out now. But anyway, but yeah, like,
people do that.
People do that.
I just realized,
for what reason? For what reason? Why does every aspect of your life need to be documented so that you can get response from other people?
Well, you can't.
Kind of thing.
One thing I've realized is a big thing that I've grown to be aware of is that you can't have a good time unless you've posted it. I purposely don't share things on social media to just keep myself grounded. That hey, you know what? Actually, I can enjoy life, enjoy what I'm doing. And you don't need to know about it. It's okay. It's actually okay.
Once upon a time, that's how life was, you know.
No, Joy, when you asked that question, what came to my mind was, have you ever, especially you were playing football, have you ever played football, and
this guy plays football as well, right?
You play football, okay, perfect. So, if you guys ever play football, say pre-season, and you're running and you're tired, and your coach says, okay, another run, and you're like, I can't breathe, like, oh my gosh, like, you actually think you're gonna die, but you have to do it again, and then you have to do it again, like, I feel like that's what happens when you're keeping up appearance. You're already tired, or you get tired, and then it's like, you have to run again. It's like, how long can I keep running? It's gonna get to the point you're like, yo, coach, stop, like, I can't go anymore, do you know what I mean?
Amazing analogy.
Like, I can't go anymore, and that's the thing with social media. And even me, like, I've been at a point where I'm like, okay, because my followers are very, very different. Like, I've got people that I grew up with and people from the sort of my community. I've also got like corporates, and I've also got these news channel people that follow. Like, my followers are very varied. So I got
diverse,
yeah, it's like, okay, what do I post? Like, do they understand? And I just like, it got to the point I was like, man, why am I trying to please my people? Like, let me just do what I want, and I know I'm not gonna please it. I think it was last year I realized that, look, Reggie, you're not gonna please everybody. And I had this thing whereby I was trying to help, because I always try to help people, right? And I'm always trying to be like, okay, how can I help you? And okay, I'll do this to help you. And I got to the point where it's like, some people, number one, didn't appreciate it, not because they were bad man or anything, but because, like, you're not gonna please everybody through what you do. Like, there's gonna be certain things that you say, you do, that you believe in, that you agree with, that other people will not sort of follow that same path as you. And I got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna do what I want to do. I want to do what I know. I want to show who I am. And the people that agree will follow my journey. The people that don't will unfollow me. And it's almost like, cool, like, let me live my movie. Do you know what I mean? You can watch it if you want to, but I'm not gonna now be posting things that I wouldn't usually do. Like, what you said is so true. I actually watch people on social media brush their teeth, and I've never questioned it. I've never, like, they've actually woke up, gone to the bathroom, got the phone out and
No, it's them ones that's been happening for
crazy
years now, where people are actually walking on the street and then they're just posting their feet walking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they don't say nothing.
Yeah, that's.
I'm like, you didn't say anything. And like, why? Why did you not say anything? So for me, I mean, I've got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna. Of course, I'm conscious of the things I post now, because I've seen so many people get backlash from social media, and a lot of people get pulled up and get in trouble via workplaces or by the media just because of it. So I'm conscious of what I post, but in terms of like posting to please people and all of it, no, I just do what I want, and I know that people are gonna unfollow you anyway.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, even with the slogan of Real Apparel, you know, being real is being you.
Yeah,
literally, it's not being what this group wants you to be, or you have to do this. Just be you. And it's very simple, but for most, you know, we find, and sometimes for us, you know, showing that vulnerability from different experiences, it's hard to follow.
Yeah,
it's very hard to follow.
And even like, I mean, my mentor, who's almost like my dad now, he said something to me that was really. We said something in an interview that we did together, and it's not really related to social media, but I feel like you can sort of take it and sort of translate it into most areas of the life today. And he said, like, you know, we're talking about being yourselves and all the rest of it, which is true. However, I think I should add this antidote as well, that sometimes you are going to be in an environment, you are going to be in a space whereby you're going to have to play the game.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to play the game, but to a higher level. And that's either workplaces, because I can say to people watching or listening, saying, oh yeah, be you, be yourself, be real, and then they go into a workplace playing bashment through their headphones and
yeah.
Like, people, do you know what I mean? Like there's that's just a wild example, but there's going to be some spaces, there's going to be some environments whereby there's a game, right? There's a game already in place, and sometimes you have to learn how to play that game. You have to play it to a high level, because you're almost going to be teaching people to overcome their prejudices, and you're going to be teaching them to sort of overcome that conceptual thought that they already have with people like you or of you. Do you know what I mean? So there are some environments where, you know, I always say play the game but don't lose yourself. So you can play it, play the game, play it to a high level, but don't lose yourself in it.
Exactly,
And there's going to be certain environments like the social media. Yeah, exactly. And there's going to be certain environments like the social media example that we gave, whereby you if there's a game, for example, creatives, right? I mean, sometimes it's a game that they have to play. They have to post certain things to create that certain buzz, or they have to. But do you play your game, but just don't lose yourself in that game. Like, make sure you know what you're doing. It's intentional. You're not just trying to do it for the clout or for that. It's actually a term, that neurological excitement that just feeds your brain and it becomes an addiction. It's like that's not gonna please anyone. Right? So yeah, I just wanted to add that. Like, if you're playing the game, play it, but number one, make sure you're playing it to a high level. And don't lose yourself that game.
No, but it's true. I agree. And like, even in terms of relatability, you know, to different people, obviously the way that you will be speaking to your boys is different from how you would put yourself forward in front of corporates. So obviously it's another transferable skill that you have, that one person could have, that we have. No flex. No flex. That we have in terms of, like you said, playing the game. But it's very important not to lose yourself, because again, you know, as we mentioned, once you go down that path of where, even in the conversation of faith, you know, where you see people who might step into a faith environment, church, and obviously it's not to say that you're gonna, for example, coming from a gang-based background, you're not gonna come in with a belly banging, you know, drill, grime.
Some institution.
Hey, this is not scripted, but I think I'll leave that to someone called Little Black Book. You know, you got that unlocked.
Disclaimer.
Wow.
Views and opinions of my own. These guys have their own views. I'm just a guest. Please, I'm just a guest.
But now he's putting on me. Okay,
I'm just a guest.
I'll take it.
I am just a guest. Disclaimer. I am just a guest.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I'll take it. But one thing why, you know, a reason why I'm I have my faith in Christianity, why I really have given my life, to Jesus, so on and so forth, is because Christianity is not about judging people. So, for example, that example of someone coming, into a faith environment church, be yourself. That's why sometimes, people at work, or you might just be in a normal environment, be yourself, be real. If you swear, I'm not gonna be, oh, come on, don't swear around me, or so and so forth. Of course, show some respect, because, I've got a wife, don't be coming to me and talking about, what you did at the club, because I don't want to hear about that. But at the same time, be you, be authentic in that kind of way. But that's pretty much it. Happy to have you.
I picked up a lot of gems today, boy. That's what I was just saying. I was just taking it in. I was just taking it in. Taking it in.
Pleasure having me, man.
Yeah, so if you're watching this, thank you very much. I'm not going to talk about likes and subscribers. I'm sure you probably guys.
Make sure you like and subscribe. I was going to do that. Make sure you click the button below. I was
going
going to do that. Click and then make sure that thing pops up at the end. And then
Press the bell.
Listen, you're watching, that's enough.
That's enough. I always wanted to do that. I don't have my own channel, so just make sure you like and subscribe.
Or if you're on Spotify, follow.
Yeah, man.
Or probably when you hear this, Apple podcast as well.
What's the thing with Spotify? Is it streams, isn't it?
Yeah.
Make sure you stream this like the rappers do. Keep it on repeat. What's the name?
So many rappers, keep
We need
playing.
top one, so make sure that you whatever.
It would have been even nice to talk about how certain musicians get machines to play their tracks to keep up experience.
It's the game, man.
The game.
Shout out Bauer.
Disclaimer. This is.
Alright, guys. Unscripted.
Yeah.
We out.